The two single biggest moments in wrestling history, maybe three. There's three that come to mind. Number one. Well, let me go back. Let's go back. I'm talking modern history. Let's go back even further. Biggest moment in wrestling history before the year 2000 is Dan Gable loses his last match of college. He loses to Larry Owens, right? Dan Gable's undefeated. I think he was like 180-0. And for those of you that don't know, Dan Gable was only a two-time national champion. At that time, freshmen could not go to the national tournament, but he was a undefeated wrestler as a freshman. Gets to the final match against the number 13 seed, I believe, Larry Owens. Nobody knew who Larry was. He wasn't a big deal. Obviously, there wasn't social media, things like that. So what limited information people did have, Larry slipped through the cracks. Dan didn't even know who he was. Larry beats him. Biggest wrestling moment in history. It transcended the sport of wrestling. This was a huge deal, especially at the time. Now, the three biggest matches that come to mind after that, we've got Kyle Snyder versus Nick Wazowski for the finals. You've got a returning Olympic champion back in college, bumping up a weight class to wrestle the returning two-time national champion at heavyweight. So this is a big deal. The next match is Snyder versus Sajalayev. You have a returning Olympic champion bumping up to wrestle the returning Olympic champion at the weight class above in the World Championships. That's a huge deal, big match. And Snyder ended up winning the first outing. He hasn't won any since. I think he's 1-4 against Sajalayev. But he has won a world tournament where I believe Sajalayev was in last year. So, and then the next biggest match that you have is, or biggest moment is, I would say this wasn't the biggest match, but has become the most infamous moment in wrestling history, which is Wyatt Hendrickson beating Gable Steveson and beating him in the last 30 seconds. That moment will never be duplicated. He wins the tournament, wins the match, gets a last-second takedown, salutes the President of the United States. You just can't have that without a COVID, because for those of you who don't know, Wyatt was currently in the military. He was able to take a fifth year. The military doesn't traditionally allow that, but because of his contract with WCAP, he was able to do that. So all that to say, these are the biggest moments in wrestling history. The rematch between a wrestler or a guy that's never wrestled, a UFC fighter that has never wrestled a freestyle match, aside from what we saw with Lance Palmer and then most recently this last weekend with Georgio Paulus, Arman Sarukian is going to wrestle Georgio Paulus for a rematch. Georgio, who's not a Division I All-American, I don't even know if he even finished his college career. All right, but take me down, win $1,000. This is probably going to be the biggest, most anticipated wrestling match of all time. I've never seen anything like it, aside from Wyatt winning against Gable. Even Kyle Snyder, when he won the Olympics, didn't get the same. He wasn't on Pat McAfee. He wasn't on Ariel Helwani. And we've got both of these guys, both on Ariel Helwani, both talking about, hey, we want to do this. Now, there's some silliness going on with this. I will say, what Arman did was disgusting. And now, let me finish this. It was an escalation of what Georgio had previously done during the match. But you're outside of the match, you're outside of the rule set, you're outside of the time. You don't do that. You don't punch somebody in the face. You don't knee him in the chest. That aside, what Arman's team, there was a guy that rushed Georgio. The best thing that you can do in this situation is break up the melee, the altercation. Somebody from Arman's team tackled Georgio. Georgio was the victim of an assault, and somebody from his team tackled him. In my opinion, that guy needs to get in trouble for that. I'm sure he won't. You know, there's kind of a gray area when it comes to MMA, when it comes to sporting events, of the people's mindset. And, Arman would be under a different legal statute than this guy, or if somebody, rushed the crowd, because of the intensity of the sporting event that he was in. Regardless, I digress. That's not the point of this. The point of this is there's some tongue-in-cheek stuff going on, right? Like Arman and Georgio are never going to fight in MMA. Georgio even said, I think we got a call with Dana White. That 100% did not happen. Georgio Paulus did not have a phone call with Dana. What are they going to talk about? Georgio doesn't have a MMA background. He's never fought. And then he's going to go fight the number one contender in the UFC. That didn't happen. This is tongue-in-cheek. This is promotion at its best. And, Arman saying, oh, we'll do this. We'll call it sparring. Yeah. These guys are going to wrestle again. All right? They might go do a jiu-jitsu match, whatever. They're going to wrestle again. They're going to do freestyle again. Now, I will say, what Georgio did, he poked him in the eye. I got to see it later. He, smacking him. I think he was trying to get out of the match. I think he was trying to create a scenario either to frustrate Arman to the point where he maybe did throw that punch early and he say DQ'd, he's out, or he's trying to conserve gas. He's trying to, play the game, right? Regardless, what he did wasn't right, but he didn't deserve what he got. I will maintain that. You guys could say what you want. You could ratio me in the likes. I will maintain that he did not get what he deserved. Sorry. He got more than what he deserved, in my opinion. But this is going to be huge. I've never seen wrestling being talked about by, especially when it comes to two guys, a rematch of two guys that aren't high-level wrestlers. They don't have NCAA credentials. They don't have world titles under their belt. And this is going to be the most anticipated rematch of all time. It's crazy. It's wild what RAF has been able to do in such a short amount of time. I hope they're making money because it's very hard to make money in wrestling. But when you see these UFC fighters coming in, when you see guys like Sean O'Malley sitting in the front row and saying, hey, man, I want a piece of this. When you got Merab Dvalishvili, you got the last three 135-pound champions all sitting right next to each other. It's a big deal. And when you get a guy like Arman, who is a very popular individual, and you get a guy like Georgio, who is popular in the wrestling space, and this breaks out. Now, again, unintended consequences, the ends don't justify the means, but this is a fun match. This is a fun, exciting time to be a wrestling fan because with this crossover with the MMA crowd, there's no telling what's going to happen to the sport. There's no telling how this match is going to end up. I will say with a great deal of confidence, unless it's in the streets, these guys are not going to fight. But I'm going to watch. I'm going to tune in. Whatever they compete at next, they're going to have my view.